Rohan clutched the solicitor's letter, the crisp paper feeling alien against his roughened fingers. He was a mechanic, his hands calloused from years of grease and grime, not silver spoons. Yet fate, it seemed, had other plans. His great uncle, a man he'd never met, had passed away, leaving Rohan heir to Blackwood Manor. A faded photograph accompanied the letter, depicting a sprawling Gothic manor house. It seemed to sag under the weight of its own history, its many windows like vacant eyes staring out from beneath a slate roof that drooped like tired eyelids. Blackwood Manor, the solicitor had said, was a place of considerable value, though its true worth lay hidden, awaiting Rohan's discovery. He'd never been one for fairy tales or family legends, but the photo stirred something within him. A flicker of curiosity perhaps, or maybe a deeper, primal instinct urging him towards the imposing structure. With a sigh that held equal parts apprehension and anticipation, Rohan decided to heed the call of his inheritance. He packed a bag, his toolbox following out of habit, and set off on a journey into the heart of his family's enigmatic past. The drive to Blackwood Manor was like traversing through a painting that grew progressively darker with each passing mile. Vibrant greens surrendered to somber grays, and the playful sunlight gave way to a brooding, overcast sky. By the time Rohan reached the manor's rusted iron gates, twilight had begun to cast its long, chilling fingers across the land. The manor loomed before him, even more imposing in person than in the photograph. The stone facade was weathered and cracked, as though ravaged by time and the elements, yet the structure still stood, radiating an unsettling aura of resilience. Vines, like skeletal fingers, clawed their way up the walls, their grip tenacious and possessive. As Rohan stepped out of his car, a cold wind swept across the grounds, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and something else, something faintly metallic and unsettling. He shivered, pulling his jacket tighter around him as he approached the imposing oak front door. The brass knocker, shaped like a snarling gargoyle, felt icy beneath his touch. He let the knocker fall once, the sound echoing in the stillness like a hammer blow against the silence. He waited, listening for the sound of footsteps, but the only response was the mournful sigh of the wind whistling through the trees. Blackwood Manor, it seemed, was in no hurry to receive its new master. The interior of Blackwood Manor was a symphony of shadows and dust. Motes of dust danced in the slivers of light that pierced through the grime-coated windows, illuminating faded grandeur and the ghosts of forgotten elegance. Cobwebs draped the furniture like macabre shrouds, and the air hung heavy with the scent of decay and something else, something akin to old books, and something altogether more sinister. Rohan spent the first few days trying to bring some semblance of order to the chaos. He aired out the rooms, his footsteps echoing in the silence, and he scrubbed at the grime, uncovering glimpses of the manor's former glory beneath layers of neglect. It was during one of these cleaning sprees that he stumbled upon a hidden room, tucked away at the end of a narrow corridor on the top floor. The door was locked, its heavy oak warped and scarred, as though someone had tried to force their way in. Curiosity piqued, Rohan searched for the key, eventually finding it hidden within the pages of an ancient leather-bound journal he discovered in the attic. The journal belonged to his great-uncle, its pages filled with frantic scribblings and disturbing sketches that spoke of dark rituals and sinister entities. One entry in particular sent chills down Rohan's spine. It spoke of a door, a forbidden threshold that must never be opened, lest something ancient and evil be unleashed upon the world. The entry ended abruptly, leaving Rohan with a sense of dread and a burning question. Was the door his great-uncle had written about the very same door he now stood before? Section 4. The Manor Awakens. As the days bled into nights, Rohan found himself increasingly disturbed by strange occurrences within Blackwood Manor. Floorboards creaked underfoot even when he was certain he was alone, and whispers seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, whispering his name in the dead of night. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, scrutinized by unseen eyes. He tried to rationalize the events, blaming them on his nerves or the tricks that an old house could play on the mind. But deep down, a primal fear began to take root, whispering that perhaps his great-uncle's warnings had not been the ramblings of a madman, but a desperate plea from beyond the grave. The locked door became a morbid fascination. He found himself drawn to it, his fingers tracing the intricate carvings on its surface, each one seemingly pulsating with an unseen energy. The journal's warnings echoed in his mind, but they were like a siren's call, alluring him towards a danger he couldn't fully comprehend. One night, as a storm raged outside, mirroring the turmoil within him, Rohan made a decision. He could no longer ignore the pull of the locked door, the unanswered questions that gnawed at his sanity. Armed with a crowbar and a growing sense of foreboding, he set off to unlock the secrets hidden behind the forbidden threshold. Section 5. The forbidden threshold. The old lock protested with a groan as Rohan finally managed to force the door open. The air within the hidden room was stagnant and heavy, thick with the smell of decay and something else, something ancient and undeniably malevolent. Cobwebs, thicker and more numerous than any he had seen in the rest of the manor, hung from every surface, shrouding the room in an ethereal, almost sacred silence. A single flickering gas lamp illuminated a narrow, winding staircase that descended into the bowels of the earth. The steps were made of rough-hewn stone, worn smooth in places as though from countless footsteps over countless years. An unnatural chill emanated from the depths, sending a shiver down Rohan's spine. He hesitated for a moment, the journal's warnings ringing in his ears. But the lure of the unknown, the desire to understand the darkness that clung to his family's legacy, proved too strong to resist. Taking a deep breath, Rohan stepped across the threshold and into the cold, unforgiving embrace of the hidden chamber.